Meanwhile, President Trump going on offense, slamming his former attorney this morning after Michael Cohen postponed his congressional testimony because of threats, he says, to his family. The president tweeting this morning, quote, "So interesting that bad lawyer Michael Cohen, who sadly will not be testifying before Congress, is using the lawyer of crooked Hillary Clinton to represent him. Gee, how did that happen? Remember July 4th weekend when crooked Hillary went before FBI and wasn't sworn in? No tape, nothing." Congressman Jim Jordan is ranking member of the House Oversight Committee. He joins us now. Congressman, thank you for coming on this morning. So
you bet, Senator.
That was the president's reaction to the postponement of this hearing. What's yours?
Well, if you look at the statement Mr. Davis, Mr. Cummings made, they talked about the threats, but then they also talked about ongoing investigations. My guess is it had a lot more to do, Michael Cohen's postponement had a lot more to do with that second part, the ongoing investigation aspect of this. Mr. Davis, when he talked to our attorneys on the committee, he told them he didn't check with the special counsel. He didn't check with the Southern District of New York. He didn't check with the Attorney General in the state of New York. He just worked this out with Cummings and got Cohen to come for this scheduled hearing. Now they're postponing it. My guess is that's because they've heard from the folks who have these ongoing investigations.
It's been indefinitely postponed. We don't know whether there will be any sort of subpoena-type action, but I can tell you this was written in the New York Times this morning, talking about this putting Democrats in an awkward position. They write, quote, "They must decide whether to force Mr. Cohen to testify despite his concerns about security or walk away altogether from a hearing that they held out as the first marquee moment in their plan to showcase their aggressive oversight of Mr. Trump and his administration." Congressman.
I think that's exactly right. I think a couple things are in play, because if they do subpoena him, and they may, what will he answer? Well, because when you're subpoenaed, do you take the fifth? Do you answer something? How does that all work out? I think that's a concern that they have to deal with. Second is this. Maybe they got finally sensitive to this fact that the first big hearing they were doing, they were bringing a guy in to testify in front of Congress who in 5 weeks is going to prison for lying to Congress. Maybe at some point they actually understood, well, that may not be the best thing to do. So I don't know what Mr. Cummings is going to do. I don't know how this is going to work out. All I know is we're focused on getting the truth out. And if Mr. Cohen comes, we're going to be prepared to ask him the questions that we think the American people deserve answers to.
And, of course, we're talking about the very powerful House Oversight Committee, and there has been some progressives that have joined this committee, and I just wonder if you can sort of tell us what picture this paints for the next couple of years. Throw up on the screen there. We've got Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez named to the House Oversight Committee. Congresswoman Tlaib, who has obviously been in the news quite a bit lately, added to that committee. What overall does this mean for investigations and more going forward?
Yeah, Senator, I mean, we'll see. This is a call for Speaker Pelosi and Chairman Cummings. They can put on the committee whoever they want. We welcome them to the committee. Again, as I said before, our focus is the truth. I think in the past I've been able to work sometimes with folks on the liberal side of the spectrum. There's obviously, a big difference between where the Freedom Caucus is and where the Progressive Caucus is. But typically on civil liberty type issues, we found common ground. We have a bill right now. Jamie Raskin, a member of the Progressive Caucus, liberal member from Maryland, and I have co-sponsored and worked on this legislation that would protect people like you, people in the press. When the FBI comes kicking on your door wanting you to divulge confidential sources, you shouldn't have to do that. It's called the First Amendment. It's called freedom of the press. And so on those type of issues, we can maybe come together and work on it. But obviously, there's a big difference between where the progressives are and where the Freedom Caucus is.
Meanwhile, the committee has already launched a new probe. It happened actually in during this program yesterday that we learned about this, into alleged grave breaches of national security in the security clearance process with the White House and the Trump transition team. Is this a sign that this committee is really going to ramp up Trump-focused investigations?
Yeah, as if we needed another sign. I mean, the Democrats are completely focused on halting and stopping the Trump administration, and not instead where I think they should be focused, which is on helping the country. I mean, think about the very first day. The first day of Congress, Brad Sherman introduces articles of impeachment. Later that same day, not even 24 hours on the job, we had the Congresswoman say the disgraceful things she said about the president. Then we have Nancy Pelosi, who will not even negotiate with the president on this whole immigration border security wall concern that we have right now. And, of course, top it all off with Nancy Pelosi doesn't invite the commander-in-chief to give the State of the Union address. They are completely focused on stopping the president and not on helping the country. The Oversight Committee, I think, is just continuing that trend, which I think hurts the nation. But they're gonna do all these investigations. Again, our focus is going to be getting the truth to the American people, and that's what we'll stay solely focused on.
And of course, this particular investigation is seeking information on clearance issues involving a number of former but also current Trump administration officials. The reason why we were showing Jared Kushner there for a bit, because he is named specifically in this.
Again, this is how the Democrats are going to operate. The commander-in-chief, the president of the United States, has a right to have the people around him who he thinks is going to give him the insight and advice he needs. Let's work through this security clearance process. I think the administration has done that, but understand they are just so focused on stopping the president and not on helping the country. I think we're going to continue to see this. I hope that changes, but it certainly doesn't look like it's going to.
Congressman, I've got to leave it there. Just a couple seconds left. How does this shutdown story end? Couple votes taken up today.
If Nancy Pelosi would get focused on helping the country, we could get a solution. The president's offered one over the weekend. Let's sit down and actually negotiate and not play these games of not inviting the president to the State of the Union. Let's actually sit down and figure out how we can help the country and get a border security wall built.
Congressman Jim Jordan, on a very busy morning, we thank you.